Mr. Tony Robbins.
Hey guys, how are you?
What's up, brother?
Good to see you, Dean, how are you, brother?
Good. We haven't talked much lately.
only in the middle of the night. Dean and I run our businesses together because we live different time zones. Dean is a 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. go workout guy, and I'm a go to bed somewhere between 5 and 6 in the morning, get up 3 or 4 hours later kind of guy. It's kind of been crazy, even more so than usual. Listen, I just want to thank you for joining us again today. And I want to tell everybody congratulations on the 6 weeks, our 7th week here. So many people talk a good game. They talk about what they want, but they don't do anything. And so what I'm really excited about for you is that you're really in the midst of that doing, because this is a time, as you well know, of crisis. And, it's been used so many times, but it's such a great example that crisis, in Chinese, it's this danger with opportunity. And that's really where we are. And we're focused on the opportunity. And what I'm most excited about for you is you've come into this industry at a time when it has not only massive growth explosion, but in addition to that, it also is in a place right now where it's matured enough that there are tools that can allow you to play in a very different way. And I've been in this industry now for 43 years. I started when I was 3, of course. But I can tell you that early days of trying to do this business, you wouldn't want to have been in this business, not an industry you'd want to be in. We're sending regular mail. It cost a fortune to make brochures and send them to somebody. There was no social media to spread the word. You had to pay for mail, It was a really crazy time. And as we've gone, tools have grown and grown and grown. But because of this crisis, our approach to COVID anyway, of shutting down 2/3 of the planet, we got people in fear everywhere. But you don't have to do what so many people have done. And frankly, you're getting the benefit of Dean's experience and my experience. I've had to pivot massively. I can only imagine what you've gone through in your life. And I really respect for you for not just sitting on your tail and just watching Netflix all night long or all day long. I'm sure you've watched some of those, I hope. But that's not your life. And so for me, you can imagine what it'd be like for Dean and I. For me, like last year, I was in 106 cities. I was in 16 different countries, some of them multiple times. About every 2.5 days, 3 days, I was on a plane, train, helicopter, on stage someplace. And that's my normal schedule. And then all of a sudden, everything gets canceled. And you at KBB have, somehow we were all guided to this in advance, I think, because you don't have to worry about breaking social distancing rules or can have a maximum of 10 people. If you can imagine, I'm used to having my 12, 15,000 people. And all of a sudden, here we are, where we couldn't do 10,000 people, couldn't do 1,000 people, couldn't do 100 people, now down to 10 people. And even when we adapted and said, okay, we're going to move dates, and we talked to the governors, like California said, oh, yes, we'll be open by August. And of course, now they're not going to open until next year. And so we've had to pivot to do what you're getting to do to start with, which is use the tools that are available now, like Zoom, so you don't have to worry about, am I breaking any rules? Do I have to get people to show up? They're in their homes. And I've just gotten a chance to know how valuable this is, because, Dean helped me together. We set up and we did this 7-day challenge where I worked with people for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I guess it was more like 3 every day for 7 straight days. And we had 400,000 people. I think it was 389,000 people that joined us. And out of that also, we were able then to have 22,000 people join us for what will be the largest UPW, Unleash the Power Within seminar that I've done. And, normally I do 15,000 person events. So this is like 7,000 more because people are at home. So you have that advantage that I didn't get to have for 43 years. You got it right now. And I want you to understand that. Not only is this industry growing geometrically, and I know you've heard the statistics from Forbes and everybody else about this massive growth industry, but now it's going to grow even more because of where we are. But in order for you to take advantage of that, you have to do what you're doing now, which is keep training yourself, right? The training never stops. And if you understand that, and if you continuously improve who you are, you'll be able to do whatever you want with your life and your business. Now, I know it doesn't start there. It starts small. It starts with those little baby steps. But Dean and I both constantly talk about in all of our companies and in all of our trainings that you got to create a culture of progress. Progress is the single most important thing for you. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how deep a hole you're in. It doesn't matter if you have no skills. I don't give a damn where you start. If you keep making progress consistently in baby steps, you're going to find yourself in a place faster than you can imagine of the compounded growth that suddenly you're going to look around and go, this is my life. If you will live by this idea of I'm going to push myself to do what's uncomfortable, that I'm going to go beyond my fears, if you can consistently do that, not perfectly, just consistently, little bite-sized chunks, the level of progress is mind-boggling. And by the way, progress is everything. Progress, people ask me all the time, they say, Tony, you travel the world, you met 100 million people, the most successful, the most challenged. what does it take to really be happy with your life? And I always tell them it's one word, it's progress. Progress equals happiness. Jot it down and remember it. See, I'll prove it to you. Think about this for a second. If you're not even where you want to be, you're 20, 30 pounds overweight, but you start to work out, and you're not even losing a ton of weight, but you get that sense of momentum and that you're doing the right things and you start feeling better, and you might lose an inch and all of a sudden go on. I don't know what it is. You're not even there yet. You start to feel good. If your finances are a mess and instead of whining about it or complaining or giving up or saying, I can't figure this out, you just start to read and learn and get answers. All of a sudden, you're going to start to feel that sense of progress. And progress will lead to whatever your ultimate destiny or destination is. Lack of progress, waiting for some giant hit, waiting for everything to come your way, or waiting for feeling good to do it will never get you there. Because think about it. Courage has nothing to do with feeling, strong or happy or like doing something. Courage means you're scared shitless, but you do it anyway. And all that is training that habit inside your own mind and body every single day until it just becomes automatic. It's a conditioning. But if you make progress, if you're not scared, there's no courage, right? That's how it is. And so I know entering anything new, the uncertainties, getting on camera, getting on your Zoom, how do I design my mastermind? All this produces uncertainty in human beings. And the problem is that most people, they start with a question of how do I do this? That's the wrong question. I call it the tyranny of how. The most successful people on earth understand that they have to not just be the manager of their life and circumstances, they need to become the creator of their life. I need to create it the way I want it, and it starts in here and here. And so the bottom line is when you first start out and you start to try to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to make the progress? If you ask how first, your brain goes, I don't know how, and so it makes you uncertain. And when you're uncertain, you hesitate. When you hesitate, you lose momentum. When you lose momentum, I don't care who you are, you're not going to succeed at the level that you really want to. So I teach people to figure out, what is it you want? Right? I have a teaching process, a way I manage all my companies. I have 54 companies. We do over $6 billion in business in more than a dozen different industries. I started with nothing. Nobody in my family had any money. I didn't have a college education. It's all self-education that got me there. But I made progress because I constantly asked myself, not what do I have to do, not how do I do this, what do I really want? What is my deepest desire? And I get clear about what I want and I make it very specific. What's the result that I'm after? And that's what I really want to encourage you to do with this training. It's like, okay, I got the training, I've gone through the modules now. Okay, what do I really want? I can have an ultimate dream. And most people, by the way, make the ultimate dream so big and so far away, it doesn't feel real and they don't act on it. I know when I was young starting out, I had these huge goals and I was always disappointed in myself, right? Because I learned over time that, most people overestimate what they're going to do in their first year of something, and they underestimate what they'll do in a decade. You go, I don't want a decade, I want it right now. Well, that's true. You can make great progress right now, but to change the world, so to speak, it takes time. It takes your skills, your maturation. But if you keep doing that growing and doing what's uncomfortable over and over again, you're going to arrive at a place that'll blow people away. But you got to know what you want and you got to know why you want it. You got to have strong enough reasons. Jim Rohn was my original teacher. Some of you may have heard him. I hope you have. He's a beautiful man. He's passed away many years ago. But he used to say, reasons come first, answers come second. If you get a strong reason why to do something, you'll figure out the how, or you'll get to the how. Now, the great thing about KBB and what we did in the design was we knew you needed both philosophy and strategy. We knew that 80% of success is psychology. It's your mindset, it's your emotion, it's the momentum, it's getting emotionally fit. And 20% is the strategy. Now, that might sound weird to you because I'm a strategist. Like, I certainly believe in energy and excitement, and the power of that is huge. Otherwise, you don't follow through. But I also know you got to have the right strategy. You do the wrong thing over and over again, working harder at it, it doesn't get any better. And so I'm a strategist, but I know the strategy is worthless if we don't change the psychology. Does that make sense? And so you got to get clear about what you want and why you want it, and that'll ignite you. The desire will get you the point to figure out how to get the how. But if you start with the how, it won't happen. I'll give you an example. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy said, we're going to put a man on the moon and return him to the earth in this decade. And the people at NASA went, read between the lines, right? It's not going to happen. We don't have that kind of technology. That's what leadership does. They create, they know what they want, why they want it, and they unleash. That's what you got to do at this stage. And if you do that, Martin Luther King got up and said, I have a dream. He didn't have a plan. He didn't know how, but he had this dream and wanted it so bad and expressed it so powerfully that it shifted our culture, so much so that decades later, we have the President of the United States as an African-American man for 8 years, right? So the world still needs lots of improvement in that area. There's no question. But the shift started not because he didn't wait till he had the how. And you have both the what and the why now, but you also have the how in KBB as well. And you've got an industry, like I always tell people, I never got into business going, what's the best industry? What's growing the fastest? What's the largest possible margin? That's how business people think. But most of us get into business because we have something we want to share with the world. We don't know those things. But now you're in a business, ironically, that I think will meet your emotional needs, your spiritual needs. I know it will because I've lived it. And Dean's lived it. Together between us, I think we figured out we got like 64 years or something between us of experience. And we did it through the hard times and now the much easier times. Don't get me wrong, it still takes tons of effort and consistency. But that little bit of progress will get you there. And by the way, if you think your ultimate dreams and goals, you want to get there right now and then you'll be so happy, ask yourself a question. Think of a goal you've achieved, one you worked really hard for. First of all, have you ever gotten to a goal, achieved it, worked your tail off, and then your brain went, is this all there is? That's a horrible feeling, isn't it? That's because you achieved the goal, but you didn't meet your deeper needs, right? You didn't understand what's really going on. Or better yet, have you ever achieved a goal and you loved it? It wasn't all this is all there is. You thought this was the greatest thing in the world. And you had this euphoric feeling. How long did that great feeling come or stay with you from achieving your great goal? Did it last 10 years? Constant euphoria? 5 years? A year? 6 months? 3 months? 3 weeks? 3 days? Or 3 hours? Now, when I ask this in a big audience of, 15, 20,000 people, I can tell you 90% of the people, that great feeling of achieving this ultimate goal wears off somewhere between 3 hours and 3 months, max. Nobody stays happy and go, gosh, why not? Because we're not made to sit on our tail and just sit at the table of success and eat. If that's all you do, you get bored out of your mind. We need to grow. And so life and God gives us this opportunity. It's like you're setting your goals, not just to achieve your goals. You'll be disappointed if that's true. But if you set your goals because of the kind of person you have to become to achieve those goals, like if you master KBB, let's say you're scared out of your mind, you never did anything like this in your life. You still, after all this time, are saying, I'm not sure I can pull this off. I don't know what to do. But all you do is make yourself do the next step. Whatever that next step is, it's making that video, it's putting up that website, or it's, designing the mastermind, whatever it is. I promise you, if you keep on doing that, you'll get on a roll. You'll get that momentum and you'll feel that sense of progress and it'll light you up. And the continuous progress equals continuous happiness. Does that make sense? So I thought I'd give you, I'm just joining you for a few minutes because I don't want to take up the time that Dean's doing, but I asked if I could pop in. He said, love to have you pop in. I think there's 3 decisions right now, especially in this environment we're in this COVID-like environment, right? This fearful environment, the concerns about race and all these issues, they're all legitimate concerns. Everybody looks at them from different ways. Everybody wants the same thing. They want the same freedoms, choices. They want to make sure that they're healthy and their family is. People just disagree on how to do that. But on the larger scale, it's the biggest virus out there right now is fear. Even the people that are angry underneath it, they're angry because they're afraid it's going to go back to the way it was. They're going to go through that again. And so we all have a 2 million-year-old brain, right? That's how old this brain is. And it's been evolving, but evolved slowly. And the fundamental part of your brain is a survival portion. And whenever we do something new or try to take something on, we tend to go into that survival state. And in that survival state, that part of your brain is always looking for what's wrong, what could hurt you, what could get in the way. And so if you let the survival brain run you, you'll have no life. You'll survive. And none of you are survivors. You wouldn't be on this call if that's what you're about, right? You're achievers. You want to go to the next level. You're committed. You want to contribute. You want to make a difference, right? But this part of our brain was always looking, what's wrong? It's always looking for it, no matter who you are. And it's going to try and protect you by fighting it, or flight, running from it, or freezing and hoping you don't get noticed. And some of you freeze when you get stressed, some of you fight, some of you run. You get out of the environment, right? That's human beings, that's human nature. However, thank God we're not just human nature. We can overpower that, we can become more. And that's really the question you gotta ask yourself. If I really mastered this KBB thing, beyond the economics and freedom and impact that I get to feel, meaning, what kind of person will I become? if I'm a person of constant learning and growing, I'm constantly training myself, the training never stops, I'm constantly finding a way to get better and better, I'm going to win this game. I remember I had my teacher, Jim Rohn, and I had 4 fathers growing up, and it was pretty rough. We were always broke, and many times we had no food. And I remember a Thanksgiving when I was 11 years old that changed my life. We had no food, and a man came to the door, and I opened the door, and long story short, this man brought us food. He was the delivery guy. My dad did not respond well to him. He didn't want to take charity. But the man kind of confronted my dad a bit when he saw me to the side and said, "Sir, I'm just the delivery guy. Don't let your ego get in the way of your family being fed." I thought my dad was going to punch him in the face. But my dad took the food, slammed the door, didn't say thank you, and walked away. And it was a day that changed my life in a lot of ways, because I began to just think about, like, I thought he was going to be so happy and excited we finally have food, but he wasn't. And it made me just think more about what makes us feel the way we feel, what makes us do the things that we do. And I began to think about it a lot and began to realize, like, when the door opened, there was a man there with food, my first thought, my first focus was, holy shit, there's food. This is amazing. What a concept. But the thing that my father did is his focus was, this man is bringing us food because I haven't done my job. And so I began to think through, and today, looking back on it, I think I can give you 3 decisions right now that you have to be aware of. That if you manage these 3 decisions, you will have an extraordinary life and you will succeed in anything you do, including KBB. But you have to manage these because they're happening every moment. They're happening right now as I'm speaking to you. And you test me and test it as I ask you these 3 things and see if it's in there. Now, most of these 3 decisions are made unconsciously, meaning it's on habitual. We don't think it through, it just happens. And if you do it unconsciously, you get unconscious results, which are usually pretty weak, right? So if you want to jot it down, the first decision we make, it's the decision my dad made that day. It's the decision that I made, which, by the way, as a result of that, I looked at life very differently because I made these 3 decisions different than my dad. Looking back on it now, it's so clear. So the first decision we make in our life is, what are we going to focus on? In this moment, you're deciding to focus on what I'm saying with you. Or maybe you're focusing on, when the hell is he going to shut up so I can hear Dean? Or you may be thinking, how long is it going to shit last so I can go get a meal? Or whatever. You could be thinking about the ache in your back. There are millions of things you could think about, but the human brain is a distortion, deletion, and generalization device. What does that mean? Your brain, in order to make decisions quickly, has to generalize. It can't think of every situation specifically. Oh, that person, that's my sister. When she does that, it means this. Our brains tend to generalize. And I'm sure you've been upset when somebody says, you always do this. You go, what do you mean I always do this? I did it once. No, you always do this, right? People tend to generalize. We tend to distort things and we tend to delete. Because if you were to take in everything that's going on right now, like the blood pulsing through your left eardrum or the feeling of your clothing against your skin, there are millions of things you can notice, but the human brain deletes most of it. So you don't experience life. You experience what you focus on in life. Does that make sense? And in fact, many times you're not even focusing on life. You're focusing on the life you've made up in your head. Have you ever been really worried about something and you thought, oh my God, this happens, it's going to destroy my business or my life, whatever, and you had so much angst and stress and worry and concern? Who's ever done this? Come on, I know you're out there. Have you ever done that and then it didn't happen? How many have done that more than once? If you're honest, you're raising your hand right now, right? We've done it many times, and it's a weird pattern. There's an old phrase that says, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a courageous man only once, right? So I train myself to go, if I'm going to worry, I'll worry about it when it happens. When it happens, I'll deal with it, right? But sitting here worrying all over the place, ruminating, is just destroying my insides. So all that is control of focus. Jot this down if you would. Focus equals feeling. Focus equals feeling. Whatever you focus on, you're going to feel, even if it's not true. If you're worried the whole world's coming to an end and COVID's going to get you and your whole family, and there's going to be race riots in your city because they're 10 blocks away, they're going to come here, and you just keep thinking about like that, you're going to be stressed out. If you're thinking about, man, this is an intense time. 2/3 of the planet is at home still. That's crazy. They're looking to figure something out in their life. They're frustrated. I can reach them right now while they're at home. Man, maybe I kick my butt in gear and do my KBB, right? Whatever you focus on, you're going to feel. It doesn't matter if it's true enough. If your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend is supposed to meet you for dinner at 7 o'clock at a restaurant and you get there and they're not there, what do you feel? Come on, what do you feel? You got there at 7, they're not there. Well, some people go, I'm pissed. Some people go, I'm worried. Some people go, it's only 7, right? It all depends on what you focus on. But what if it's 7:30? You've been there since 7. They've not called. They've not texted. There's been no communication. They're not there 30 minutes later. Now what do you feel? And people ask in a crowd go, oh, I'm really pissed, or I'm really worried. What if it's 8:30 p.m.? You've been there since 7. They've not called. They've not texted. They've not shown up. Now what are you feeling? One woman said to me, full. I didn't wait for the bastard. Right? So, but the reason you're worried and someone else has the same experience, I shouldn't say experience, same event, and they're angry is based on what you did with these 3 decisions. First, what did you focus on? Second decision, what does it mean? What does it mean? So the person who's really angry is like, they did it again. They're always doing it. They're probably out screwing around with somebody else. And if you imagine your dearest love screwing around with somebody else, even if it's not true, you're going to feel it in your body like it just happened. Make sense? If you're worried, you're like, what if they were in a car accident? Now, whatever you picture in your mind, whatever you focused on, that's what you're going to feel. Now, maybe they show up and it wasn't a car accident and they weren't screwing around. How are you going to treat them when they show up? You're going to treat them based on the emotional state you're in, based on what you focused on. So if you're really angry, you're going to treat them in a way that makes them never want to come back. If you're worried, you'll probably embrace them in a beautiful way. So you need to understand your life, what you experience in life, the quality of your life is the emotions you feel most often. See, if you got $1 billion and all you do is get frustrated and angry all the time, your life's frustrated and angry. It doesn't matter you got $1 billion. If you have 3 beautiful children who love you and you love, or a beautiful husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend that you adore and adores you, but you worry all the time, your life is not love, your life is worry. The quality of our life is the quality of our emotions. Can you see that? Everyone has an emotional home, a place they go back to. Do you know people that are always pissed off? They find reasons to be pissed off. They're not pissed off things in their own life, they're pissed about things that happen in the world. You know people that worry all the frickin' time? If they're not worried about themselves or their family, they worry about the world itself. They're always worried. See, people have an emotional home. Some people are always playful. Some people are crazy. Some are passionate. Some are worried. Some are angry. Some are depressed. Where do you spend more of your time? More importantly, if you'd like to change it or enhance it, it's time to shift or rebuild your emotional home. It starts with changing your focus. The pattern of your focus controls the pattern of your emotion, which controls the quality of your life. Because how you feel determines very often what you do. Now, one of the things I tell people, it's really critical, is you need to really just decide, I don't give a damn how you feel. Like, if I only did things when I felt good, like people say, I'm getting ready and I don't quite feel it yet. I don't feel confident enough yet. Screw you. I'm not saying that harshly. I'm saying it to call to you, my friends, right? We're all brothers and sisters on this path, and you can't just do things when you feel like it and expect to be successful. I mean, it's the most dumb idea I've ever heard in my life. Some of you know, if you know me, I start every morning. I did it again this morning. First thing I do, I go jump in 56-degree water. And unfortunately, I have multiple homes. I have these cold plunges I built. And in my home in Sun Valley, Idaho, I just go in the river. And when it's wintertime, that thing is like, 36 degrees. I walk through the snow and do it. You go, Tony, what's wrong with you? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing. There's never been a day where I woke up and said, I can't wait to jump in that freezing water. Never, not one day ever, right? Why do I do it? Well, there's a huge health benefit as your body flushes your immune system, flushes everything, your lymph, the blood flow through your organs when you go that pick a temperature, and it does not feel good. But when you get out, you feel more alive than you can ever imagine. But the real reason I do it even more than the health reason is I'm training my brain. I'm training my brain that when I say go, we go. We don't let our focus wander. We don't make deals and say, well, maybe in 3 minutes when I feel more ready, and maybe tomorrow afternoon. It's right effing now. And I've done it over and over again to now there's no hesitancy. I just sit there, boom, go. It doesn't matter how I feel. I just do it. And that discipline that I do every day, it's so simple, takes a minute, puts me in the state so that I have a better focus because I feel better physically, and also teaches my brain when I say go, we go. And it's a discipline I encourage you to consider a way to create in yourself. But my point is, focus equals feeling. So here's a test. Try this with me. I'll give you 3 patterns of focus. And I want you to just notice which one is the stronger pattern. Like we all do everything. I'll give you some options. And then we'll see what that means. Just for a quick second. Then I'm going to turn you back to Dean here. So 1, what do you focus more on more often? What you have or what's missing? If you had to be clear, do I focus more on what I have and really fully enjoy that? Or do I focus more on what I don't have or what's missing in my life? Which one? Say it out loud. Even though I can't hear, say it out loud. Just say own it a little bit in your body. I know we do both, but which one? Now, I can tell you, there's stadiums of people in 100 countries, right? 10, 15, 20, some of the big ones, 35,000 people. I ask them this question every time. And in my audiences, which are usually people that are achievers like yourself, like myself, like Dean, the achiever curse is that most of those people focus more on what's missing than what they have. So what's good about that is it makes you see the truth. It shows you the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And for many people, it drives them. For other people, it's so overwhelming. They just feel bad about themselves. Their energy drops and they don't follow through. So, and also think about this. This is so important. Don't think of it as being personal. This is like software. You aren't this. This is just a pattern. It's hard to change yourself. It's easy to change a pattern once you become aware of it. So the pattern of constantly focusing on what's missing. How can you ever sustain happiness for a long, extended period of time if you're always looking for what's missing? You can't. I don't care who you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much you care. It doesn't work. That's not how the software works in the brain. But if you're focused constantly on what you have and you're feeling grateful for it, it puts you in an energized state where you're not in scarcity. You're not like, oh my God, I have to do this to be enough, because you're feeling such gratitude. See, gratitude is the one emotion that destroys the two things that destroy your life. Fear, right? And think about it, anger. You can't be grateful and angry simultaneously. It doesn't work that way. You can't be fearful and grateful simultaneously. So changing your focus from what's missing to what I have. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a time to notice what's missing, to take inventory. But you do that like once a month or once a week for 10 or 15 minutes to come up with a plan of how to close the gap between here's where I am, here's where I want to be. I'm going to close that gap right now, right? But if you do it every day, which is the habit you get into, most people get into, then it doesn't matter how much money you earn, doesn't matter how many people you touch, doesn't matter how beautiful your children, doesn't matter how many people love you or you love, you're not going to, no matter how great your body is, it'll never be enough. Does that make sense? Now watch what stacks with this. So here's the second question. This is another pattern of focus. Do you tend to pattern more on what you can control or all the things you can't control? Now we all do both, but where do you spend more of your time honestly? And where's your time been, especially the last few months when all of a sudden we had the COVID crisis and then obviously the protests and some of the rioting that's happened in some places? Where's been your focus, what you can or can't control? Well, in most of my seminars, 80% of the people focus on what they can control. That's why they come to an event. It's probably why you join KBB. It's like, okay, I'm going to take control of my life. I got to get these skills, these abilities. I got to shift myself. I got to create. You're not a passive person sitting on your butt. But when times get overwhelming, people tend to focus on what they can't control, even people like that. And you may have experienced a little bit of that during this, or a lot of it, depending on what you've been on through during this COVID time. So, as you go through this, being able to focus on what you can control. There's so much you can't control. Focusing on what you can control is the only place you're going to feel alive and proactive. And human beings, our psychology, our well-being, our self-esteem is tied to feeling like we have more control over events than events have control over us. And the one thing you have control over always is what it means to you, right? Because that is what controls all of it. So a third pattern would be, do you tend to focus more on the past, the present, or the future? What do you tend to focus more, past, present, or future? And in my audiences, it's mostly the future because the achiever is designing the future, but you got to have the present to feel alive. So ideally, it's the present and the future. You only go to the past to learn something. You don't spend a bunch of time there because, again, you can't control the past. It's already over. Make sense? So just these three patterns, if you just change the pattern of your focus to more time consistently on what you have, what you're grateful for, and feeling it, seeing, experiencing, it'll bring an energy and a strength to you that'll push forward and come through and radiate when you're communicating anyone, your friends, your family, your customers, your clients, doesn't matter. If you can get yourself focused on what you can control, there's so much you can't control, but focus on what you can control, your sense of autonomy, of strength will grow. If you focus on enjoying the present and creating the future, those three patterns will completely change your life. Now, when I have a live audience, I'll often ask them, and I'll ask you right now, and I don't hear your answer, but you could type in the box there if you want, on the Facebook side if you want to, but here's what I want you to understand. How many of you out there know somebody who has, who's depressed and they take antidepressant drugs and they're still depressed? How many of you? See, I can tell you from being in live audiences, it's usually, no matter where I go, I work in 100 countries, 90% of the people raise their hand and say they know somebody who takes antidepressants and they're still depressed. How is that possible? Because all the drugs do is numb your emotion. They don't change the source of it. The source of it is what you're focusing on. source of it is, are you focused on what you have or what's missing? The focus is things you're control or not control, past, present, or future. Imagine if you constantly focus on what's missing and the things you can't control and the past. That person, you can give them 12 antidepressant drugs, they're still going to be depressed. So if you just change these 3 patterns, you will shift your life. So change, take control of your focus. And KBB is a reason to do that. I work for Jim Rohn because I thought these are the things I need to do to have an extraordinary life. This is how I need to live. So what if I made it my life's work, or I have to embody it because I'm enrolling people in it, I'm teaching, I'm sharing. Like if you're 50 pounds overweight, it's hard to do a health seminar, right? So, but I had to hold myself to a higher standard to do that. You don't have to be perfect, but you got to be able to continuously grow. You got to make progress. It's not where you start, it's where you go. Here's the second decision. What does this mean? The minute, and I'll speed this up because I'm going over on time here. The minute you start to focus on something, your brain's next question is, what does it mean? Is this a threat? Is this an opportunity? Is this a problem, right? Is God punishing me? That's why we have this problem. Is God challenging me? Is this problem actually a gift from God? Or is it not even God at all? Is it me being a lazy bastard, right? So the meanings we give things changes. If you think this is all a punishment from God, you're just going to settle. If you think this is God's challenge to you or a gift from God, you're going to have a different approach. If you think this person is like disrespecting you, or are they challenging you, or are they coaching you, or are they actually loving you? See, whichever meaning you give will instantly change the emotion you feel, and that emotion is going to determine the third decision, which is what are you going to do? See, if you're angry, you're going to do something very different based on a meaning of anger than if you feel challenged or you feel loved or you feel cared for, right? Does that make sense? So we need to take control of our focus, and we got to come up with an empowering meaning. Is this the end or the beginning, right? That's your choice. If you think it's the end of a relationship, the end of your career, the end of your business, the end of whatever, you just surrender most of the cases. If you think it's the end of a relationship, how are you going to treat that person? Probably not real great. You think it's the beginning of a relationship, you'll do anything for them. I love you. What can I do? What else can I do? You're anticipating. So this controls the quality of your relationships, your business, and your life. Because whatever you feel tends to shape, because most people haven't trained themselves. I don't care how I feel. Whatever you feel tends to shape what you do, the decisions you make. So the 3 decisions are, what am I going to focus on? What does it mean? And what am I going to do? You need to take control of your focus to what I have versus what's missing. You need to put your focus on how to constantly grow in the areas you can control, not the ones you can't. And you need to focus on enjoying the moment while you're building that future. Because when you get to that future, it'll be your present and it'll feel good. But you want to enjoy the process as well. Does that make sense? If you do those 3 things, you're going to make better decisions. And ultimately, your life is controlled by the decisions that you make. It's not controlled by conditions. We've all had horrific conditions, but we made better decisions and we developed a better life. Make sense? So one of the things I love about you guys and just want to thank you for is all the communication that goes on and all the support of one another and the Facebook groups. It is amazing the culture we have. We have people from, I think it's over 125 countries now. We have, I think it's now 4,000 different niches. I mean, people doing everything under the sun you could possibly imagine. Teaching people how to get rid of a migraine, teaching people how to turn their kid around, teaching them how to have a conscious divorce, teaching them how to build your hair salon, how to do your accounting and make 50% more money by people that have done it. They aren't necessarily the greatest teachers on earth, but they are. Because I don't want some ivory tower teacher, from Harvard to tell me how to run a business who's never run one in their life, tell me the principles that they came up with 10 years ago or learned from another professor. People today want to know what's pragmatic and real and apply it. And you have that in your heart and soul. And I don't care who you are, you have it. And so I was watching, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was looking online. And there was one in particular that just made me cry. His name is Lance. And I like to just take 2 minutes and show you a little video that Lance had. Maybe you saw it on the Facebook group. But he's just a perfect example of everything I just told you. Can you guys roll the little image of Lance or the little video of Lance just for 2 minutes?
Since the age of 12, I have had a passion for supporting people with disabilities and helping people with disabilities to recognize that it is possible to overcome significant barriers in our life, to do unbelievable things. I have cerebral palsy. I live my life in a power wheelchair, but I'm not here to say, oh, look at me, poor me. It's anything but. not only do I accept the fact that I have a disability, but I believe that my disability puts me in a unique position to see the world in a very, very different way than most. I'm able to recognize that there is possibilities where other people may not see it. I'm willing to go and do things that not a lot of people are willing to do. And I've pushed myself to get to where I am because I refuse to have that limited mentality that because of a disability, I'm not able to achieve X, Y, Z. And that's why I'm sitting here as a Paralympic athlete. I competed for Canada way back in 2000. I'm kind of aging myself here, but I competed for Canada in the 2000 Paralympic Games. And then I took about 16 years off of from that Paralympic sport, only to return in 2017 to that sport. And I have regained my position on the national team in Canada as of 2019. So 16-year hiatus, and here I am back competing at a high level in this sport. Pretty incredible. But the fact of the matter is, I'm able to do these things because I know that I can control how I respond to the environment. I can control how I respond to adversity. I do not let challenge bring me down. I'm always trying to push myself to the next level. So the KBB course and this opportunity that Tony and Dean have created for all of us has been nothing but a godsend because it is giving me the practical tools I have needed for a long time to actually impact other people's lives in a really profound way and hopefully see them be just as successful as I've been in my life. I have nothing but gratitude for everyone in my life and nothing but gratitude for all the wonderful experiences I've had, and I want nothing more than to help other people with disabilities achieve their dreams and prove to them that even though everything looks as though it's too difficult or there's too many challenges, if we're creative enough, if we're stubborn enough, if we want it enough, it can be accomplished. So thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to this ongoing journey with KBB and everybody in the KBB Facebook group. I'm very active in there. And I also want to make sure that people know I'm not here just to be inspiring. I want to be able to support everybody and be as much of a help as I can be to everybody in that group.
Thank you, Lance. I hope you're moved by that. I cried the first 4 or 5 times I watched it multiple times. This is why Dean and I are doing this, is to give you guys the freedom that you deserve. Help you find your own way to create that freedom. We can't do it for you, but we can be dear friends for you. We can be great coaches to you, not because we're so smart, because we've been doing this for 60 plus years together. And so we've had a lot of hard knocks, and the best way to learn is by other people's experience. If you learn by your own experience, it might take you decades and never get there. But listen to everything Lance just said. It brings tears to my eyes, honestly. It's like, here's a man who could have just given up, would have every reason to. But what did he do? He didn't know how to change his life. He knew what he wanted and why he wanted it, right? I really believe I got to make a difference for people like myself. I believe there's some part of me somehow that can do that. And then listen to how he controls his focus. Right? What do you focus on? I know I can't control everything, but I can control, right? And he goes through the list. I can control my response. I can control how I react to the environment. He focuses on things he can control. He focuses on what he has instead of what's missing. It'd be easy to say, I can't do this, I can't do that because of this disease in my body, but he doesn't. He focuses on what he can do. And he's not stuck in the past. He's focused on the future, but also enjoying the present along the way, the connections, the relationships, the KBB family, all those things that are going on there. He's literally practicing all. He's making great decisions. And Dean can give you an update, but I know when I checked on him, I think he'd done his first 2 masterminds already, and he sold one high-level mastermind with 3 or 4 people and made a ton of money doing it. And he's loving what he's doing and having the meaning in it. So I guess I just really want to call to you. You guys have done so good because you've been through this program, but now is where the rubber meets the road. And if it's hard, do it hard. If it's easy, do it easy, but do it. Don't give a damn how you feel. Just train yourself to do it anyway. People ask me all the time, they go, how did you become, the top guy in your industry? Probably the nicest words I can use for it. But I tell them the way you dominate any industry is you do more for others than anybody else does in your category. You add more value. You do more than anybody else could possibly do. And the interesting thing is, if you really will do that, you will dominate. You will become, if you do it year after year, you'll build a brand. And a brand, people get on their knees and go behind another drink to reach for a Coca-Cola, even though that when they did taste tests, Pepsi won most of the time. It's like they're certain about a brand. And you can build a brand through time if you keep adding value. But then how do you do that? Because that's the next question people always ask me. And I said, the answer is you have to work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. You got to constantly improve. Jim Rohn taught me that. I remember asking him, I was like, how come my fathers are broke? How come I have no money, for food at Thanksgiving? I said, they're good men. All four of my fathers are good men. And Jim Rohn helped me understand. He goes, Tony, you have to understand, we're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. In the marketplace, the more skill and ability you develop, the more valuable you are, the more you'll be able to earn. He said, is it possible to earn twice as much in the same amount of time? I said, yeah, I've seen people do that 10 times as much. I haven't seen many people do it, but they do. 1,000,000 times as much. He goes, there are people that make $4 billion a year. You go, that's so unfair. When a person at McDonald's makes whatever dollars per hour. And the truth is, $15 an hour, whatever it is, $18 an hour versus $4 billion? Sounds so unjust, but it's not, he said. Because the guy that made $4 billion, literally in his hedge fund, produced 25 to 40% returns when everybody else is getting 2%, or it might, to get their money to grow. I mean, it's going to take them decades to get it. But these people are growing, like compounding in 2, 3, or 4 years. They made 100% more money, and they do it for organizations and businesses and individuals. He goes, they've added more value. You have to constantly increase your skill. So here's my number one feedback to anybody who asks me. The training never stops. If you ever think, oh, I'm there, I've never thought that. That's why people say to me sometimes, I have some young bucks that'll come up to me sometimes at a seminar, and I always love when they do it. They come up and they go, look at me. My name is so-and-so. You're going to remember my name, because I am going to, soon I'm going to be where you are. And I always smile real gently and I say, I hope you do. And I if you continuously focus and improve, you will get to where I am. But when you get to where I am, you'll be where I was, because I'm not going to stop growing. So let's have this beautiful competition to all of us grow. That's what competition is. It's conspiring together to make each other better. That's why you play a sport. You push the other person, they push you, and you get better. If it's easy, it's not going to get better. So the training never stops. So I really encourage you to keep next leveling your thinking, keeps next leveling your skill. That is how you're going to guarantee long-term success. And in the meantime, enjoy the hell out of yourself by focusing on what you have. You got an opportunity like no other. In the middle of COVID, you really can do whatever you want. It's going to take baby steps. Maybe somebody will take giant steps, but whatever steps, as long as they're continuous progress, you're going to get there. But focus on what you have. Focus on what you can control. Focus on the present and the future. Make sure you come up with an empowering meaning on any challenge you face. I face something that's like, okay, if I solve this, I can help millions of other people. You're going to have that opportunity if you keep growing. I didn't do it overnight, but I built it into something I'm proud of, and you will too. So thanks for letting me visit with you. I'm really so proud by our association. I love the family feeling that we've been able to generate with so many people all over the earth here. And I think we have a mission called self-education that, boy, we do this right, and we are. We keep doing it right. We're going to make a giant difference for so many people. And you'll have not only the economics, but you're going to have that feeling that no amount of money can give you. That feeling that your life is meaningful, that your life matters, that you've made a difference in some small way for another human being or a group of human beings or dozens or hundreds or thousands or whatever that goal eventually becomes. So I love you guys. Congratulations on the next step, and keep making progress. Keep training. Don't let up, and you'll get where you want to be. Dean, I'll throw the ball back to you, brother.
Tone, first off, I just want to share that, I don't know if, Mike, you got the split screen on? Okay, cool. I can't see it. All right. First off, brother, I always love, it doesn't matter how many times I've heard some of this 20 years ago, and I still have 2 pages in notes, but more than the capabilities you have, brother, I love your heart. I love, because, here's the thing, the closer we've gotten over the last decade, you know that saying, sometimes it's scary to meet your heroes. And you were a hero to mine. You made a huge impact on my life over 2 decades ago. And it was so amazing to get to know you. And as we've developed this dear friendship, now we talk probably too much, 20 times a day.
Never too much.
But I love knowing the man you are behind the scenes. And when I watch you share and I watch all the incredible comments, it's cool as you're watching Tony and you're listening. But when the camera goes off, guys, this is what he lives every day. This is what he cares about you. He cares about you on a level you could never imagine. His whole life is dedicated to impact. And I'm sorry I'm talking about you like you're not right in front of me, brother, but I love you and I appreciate you. And thanks for spending time. And don't ever apologize for going long. There was about 5,000 comments of saying, please don't stop. So incredible. Thank you. I know you got a busy day. Thanks for fitting this in. Everybody, Tony will read the chat. So give it up for Tony in the chat. And Tony, we'll talk a little later, brother. Love you.
I just want to say something about Dean as long as we're saying something. I get tears in my eyes because I love this man so much. I'm sure by now you must know, if you spent time with him, the same purity. That's why we're such dear brothers. We're not just friends, because we're made of the same stuff. We come in different sizes and scopes, and we got different skill sets, and we complement each other in so many ways because we're really mission driven. But this man, I care so deeply. It's why we love so much each other, because he cares about you with the same depth, and he doesn't just talk about it. He delivers it over and over again. I'm so proud by our partnership and so proud of this family of people. And I wish I'm so excited that I have tears of they're not painful tears, they're tears of grace, that here we are in the middle of the situation and we're able to reach out to you and help you get to a place where you can start to make that dream of yours a reality, or construct that dream and begin the journey. There's nothing like it. And as life goes by, I don't know, all of your different ages and backgrounds. I'm now 60. I can tell you, over the last 4.5 decades, the amount of growth, the amount of joy, the amount of love that we have because of this way of living is unmatched. So I thank you, my brother. Ball's back to you. God bless to everybody. We'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Tone. See you soon.